Welcome to the great conjunction of Saturn and Jupiter in the humanitarian, water-bearing air sign of Aquarius. Many are also referring to this as a great mutation, since this is the official start of these two sky giants meeting exclusively in air signs for the next 200 years, give or take. I want to explain some facts as well as debunk some myths and misinformation around this event. And I want to also explain the kind of energetic significance an occurrence like this holds. There's been a lot of confusion about how often this occurs or when the last time this did occur. To be clear, Jupiter and Saturn are conjunct, meaning more or less appearing from our vantage point in the sky to be right next to each other, every 20 years or so. For instance, I'm 28 and have lived through Saturn and Jupiter being conjunct in 3 different zodiac signs. One in Taurus when I was 8, the one in Capricorn that we've had all year, which also had Pluto in the mix, and now this one. So Jupiter and Saturn meeting up in the sky is not that uncommon at all. The significance of this conjunction is that they are less than 1 degree orb of one another. In astrology, we use orbs and minutes to understand the distance and therefore the power and impact of an aspect. So this conjunction at its closest will be a mere 6 arc minutes apart. This is far less common of an occurrence, and what's even more rare is that it will be visible to most of the world's population, and that is what has not happened since 1226, so roughly 800 years ago. It is also quite a marvel that this is happening on the Winter Solstice, so this conjunction is also being referred to as the Christmas star. And it is speculated that an event like this one is what led the 3 wise men to embark on their journey to find the prophecy manifest that was the birth of Jesus Christ. So there is a greater historical, mythological, and even spiritual context that such an astronomical event as this carries with it. Surrounding this particular conjunction, I've seen a few theories floating around on what it will bring. The biggest is that this is the clear, definitive start of the age of Aquarius. That is simply not true. There is no one transit that can be marked as the start of an entire zodiacal age. That is not how astrology works. Many of you may be thinking, what is an age anyway? Well, there's a more scientific way of approaching this and a more metaphysical way. Without getting too carried away, let's look at some basic astrophysics and math. Just bear with me here. The concept of an age is based on the fact that as the Earth spins on its axis, there's a simultaneously occurring backward wobble, known as the precession of the equinoxes, which is why ages move in reverse, by the way, and that it wobbles about 1 degree every 72 years or so. So we know there are 30 degrees for each zodiac sign, which means every astrological age takes place about every 2,160 years. And it takes 25,920 years to cycle through the entire zodiac. Okay, so what does that mean for the start of the Aquarian age? Well, it depends on how we're tracking time. When did the Piscean age start, or Aries, or Taurus, or any age for that matter? Thanks to historical, religious, and astrological texts, we can look at certain symbolism, ideologies, and cultural phenomena that align with certain ages throughout time. We know, for instance, the importance of the symbolism of the ram in Judaism, which is also the world's oldest monotheistic religion. Focus on the concept of one reigning supreme. The miracle of the ram sounds like the age of Aries, doesn't it? And Judaism is about 4,000 years old. So what comes 2,000 years after that? The birth of Christ and the age of Christianity, or the age of Pisces. So maybe we could use the birth of Jesus Christ as the mark of the beginning of the Piscean age. Well, we don't know exactly what year Christ was born, though many historians date the birth to be around 7 BCE according to our calendar. But even if we use that event as the start of that age, which again is a faulty approach and is still an approximation and also doesn't account for cusp or transitional periods, that still wouldn't put us at the start of the Aquarian age. It still leaves us about 140 years or so away from that time if we want to try to measure it precisely. And really, to my point, it wouldn't denote this event as the official thing that starts it. But let's think about what an age really is, as metaphysics is concerned with what things are beyond the limitations of physical illusion. Ages bring about an archetypal precedent that influences the prevailing symbolic themes and belief systems of a time. A collective perspective that shifts how we understand and engage with the world. An overarching lens through which we all choose to incarnate, experience life, create, and ultimately evolve at a given time in human history. It takes time for a paradigm of that grandeur to shift energetically and to become more cemented. Honestly, even the calculations we use for ages are ultimately a bit supercilious. Aquarian cultural themes in our society have been unfolding for decades, maybe even longer. The globalization of our society, the Industrial Revolution, technological advancements, scientific advancements, the internet age, the explosion of social media, the age of information, conspiracy theories, the exploration of futurism, and the increasing rapid ascension of our conscious collective curiosity and awareness. These are manifestations of that energy. And as we all bridge the gap between the Piscean age and the impending Aquarian age, it's important to note that there are folks who have been living in the Aquarian age already. You don't need a specific date or happening to give you the ability to transcend or ascend or transform or activate your powers or become more of who you were meant to be. Transits, energy shifts, important astrological events all have impact on our lives. They can explain the larger context of how and when and why things in our society unfold. They can give us clues into behaviors we exhibit or moods we feel. They can provide portals of maximized potential for successful outcomes or failed efforts. As above, so below is a perspective broadening and humbling viewpoint by which to live. But remember, the stars impel, they do not compel. People will awaken at their own rates because even though we are all one, we are also individuals. The more individuals in our collective who embrace the whole of who they are and actually transcend any dogmatic thinking as an absolute defining of who they are, the more we all collectively advance and become empowered in remembering our divinity. So, back to this conjunction. What is its significance? As I mentioned at the beginning, we will be having this conjunction for the foreseeable future in air signs, when for the past 200 years or so, they've been more or less in earth signs. So this shift is massively important and is one part of several energetic shifts that we will start to see over the next coming decade of moving from a lot of earth and water energy into a lot of fire and air, or from a lot of passive, more reactive energy to a lot of forward-moving, proactive energy. This is not to say we will never see any major water or earth transits during this time. We're going to have Saturn in Pisces in about 3 years, Pluto in Pisces in about 20 after that, Uranus in Cancer in 12 years, Neptune in Taurus in another 40, and so on and so forth. But the air shift of this great conjunction holds a lot of importance as a marker of seeing a society more interested in the value of information, of ideas, and of community empowerment rather than physical resources, monetary merit, and governmental oligarchy. It's not going to be all sunshine and rainbows. Although the particular ongoing stellium of Capricorn energy had a real sobering effect on us all, that was heavy, to say the least. This shift, and that of Saturn in Aquarius in particular, is moving a lot of the pressure of responsibility from institutions to the population. It's a time for radicalization, revolution, immense change, yes, but it's also a time for accountability, advocacy, and important collective task mastering. It's a wonderful time to discipline your mind and also expand your dreams, to make the esoteric more accessible, and to have the courage to imagine outside of the status quo while taking action to make needed changes to it. This is also a marker of continued social isolation, Saturn bringing restriction to collective interaction, but with Jupiter there, I definitely think more inventions are underway that connect us amidst our solitude. We're also likely to see advancements in science, medicine, business models, and a lot of revelations around how we interact with technology. Some of the shadow elements of this time is a potential for opinionated hubris, intellectual superiority complexes, the belief that one's opinion is the truth, more conspiracy theories, profound paranoia, and the potential for some new age spiritual bypassing in the name of ego delusion steeped in bad intel. True communication, not just listening for the sake of responding, but actual fair exchange in ideology is what should be leaned into. A need for more extensive fact-checking, self-checking, and restructuring of reality, not dissociating from it, is what will be paramount to navigating the noise. Things are likely to become more sensationalized and, frankly, more bizarre during this time. Time itself may also feel quite warped, or like there are these abrupt, jagged edges in it. Being adaptable is going to be imperative for us all. One of the more exciting things is the empowerment of the underdogs, outcasts, and social misfits. Oppressed and marginalized voices stepping more to the forefront is going to accelerate greatly. This transit does have a bit more levity than Saturn-Jupiter transit in Capricorn. Saturn rules Capricorn and tends to go full disciplinarian mode while there, and Jupiter really doesn't like being in Capricorn. Jupiter does pretty well in the sign of Aquarius, as does Saturn, as it is the classical ruler of Aquarius. So even though there's still a lot of collective strife to handle and many responsibilities to step up to as a human family, there is a bit more optimism to be had, even though Pluto is still doing its thing in Capricorn and America's Pluto return is still approaching. Things will also get intense at the top of 2021 when Jupiter and Saturn square Uranus and then Mars when it goes into Taurus. We're not out of the woodwork in terms of chaos, mass upheaval, natural disasters, institutional devastation and destruction, but now really is an optimum time to maximize our potential for being the change we want to see in the world. There is a great awakening, and there are many revolutions occurring. There is a dawning of many new eras and a new earth unfolding. The more we're attuned to how to best utilize the energy made readily available to us by alchemizing it, honing in on it, and channeling it, the more we can claim our full selves and ultimately uplift one another. Jupiter will be in Aquarius through all of 2021, and Saturn will stay in Aquarius until early 2023. Right behind it will be Pluto in Aquarius, and then we'll really see the most powerful collective transformation imaginable begin to unravel. We are undoubtedly in an important time in human history, but please remember that every day brings the possibility for change, growth, and soul evolution. Onward.